Good morning, everyone. Today we're going to hear the story of the parable of the rich man. Jesus told the story about helping people. One day, after he ate a huge lunch, a rich man said, "I'm so full. I couldn't eat another bite. I'm going to take a nap." He closed his eyes and went to sleep. Ow, ow, ow. The sounds of moaning came outside. They got louder and louder. Soon the sounds woke up the rich man. "Who's making that awful sound?" he asked. A rich man looked out the window and saw a man named Lazarus lying on the ground. He had no money or food to eat. Sores covered his whole body. He was sick. Lazarus needed some help. Instead of helping, the rich man shouted, "Be quiet, you old beggar," and he went back to his chair and closed his eyes again. Later that day, Lazarus died right outside the rich man's house. When Lazarus died, he went to heaven to be with God. In heaven, he had no sores. He was not sick, and all of his problems were gone. The rich man died too. He didn't go to heaven. He was far away from God, but the rich man could see Lazarus in heaven. "Help me," the rich man begged Lazarus, but they were too far apart. It was impossible for Lazarus to do anything for him. "I'm sorry, I can't reach you. I can't help you," said Lazarus. When he was living, the rich man thought he was too important to help Lazarus. He didn't care about what happened to Lazarus. After he died, the rich man realized the mistake he had made. Jesus told the people, "I want you to see the people who need help. Open your eyes, use your ears, help everyone that you can." Today we're going to hear about how the Berenstain Bears help the homeless. The Good Deed Scouts are trying to think of a good deed to do. Before they could, Widow McBear came by. "Hello, Scouts," she said. "I have a good deed for you." "That's great," said Brother. "What is it?" asked Sister. "I have an old house on top of the Spook Hill," said Widow McBear. "No one lives there. It's run down." "It sounds spooky," said Sister to Lizzie. "I want to make it a home for the homeless," said Widow McBear. "Will you Scouts fix it up?" "Yes, we will," said the Scouts. "Here is the key," said Widow McBear. "You can start tonight." "Tonight," said Sister. The Scouts were scared. Sister thought there might be ghosts. Brother thought there might be goblins. Lizzie thought there might be monsters. But Fred was not scared. It was just an old house. It can make a good home for the homeless. As the Bible said, Fred pointed out, "Rescue the weak and the needy." "Good point, Fred," said Brother. That night the Scouts stood on the bottom of Spook Hill. "I'm afraid there are ghosts," said Sister. "I'm afraid there are goblins," said Brother. "I'm afraid there are monsters," said Lizzie. "It's just an empty old house," said Fred. "Follow me." So up Spook Hill the Scouts went. Sister, Brother, and Lizzie were wrong. There were no ghosts or goblins or monsters in the house. But Fred was wrong too. The house was not empty. Lots of eyes were looking out at the windows. Lots of little eyes and one pair of big eyes. The little eyes belonged to the bats that lived in the house. The big eyes belonged to Old Tom. He was a homeless bear. He stayed at the spooky old house. As the Scouts came closer, Old Tom and the bats grew afraid. The Scouts walked across the porch. Creak, creak went the floor. Fred turned the doorknob. Rattle, rattle went the knob. Fred pulled the door open. Squeak went the door. Bats came flying out the open door. Woo went the bats. The Scouts were inside. They saw two big eyes. Ghosts, yelled Sister. Goblins, yelled Brother. Monsters, yelled Lizzie. Help, yelled the old man. Everyone calmed down, said Fred. He turned on his flashlight. It's old Tom, said Brother. We see him around town. Hello, Tom, said Fred. We are the Good Deed Scouts. We are fixing up this home. Will you help? Old Tom was glad to help. They started the next day. They hammered and they sawed, and they swept and they washed. They painted and polished. Soon the spooky old house on top of Spook Hill looked new. Widow McBear came to the new Spook Hill homeless shelter. She asked old Tom to stay and take care of it. All the homeless bears of Bear Country came to live there. The bats stayed too. They lived up in the attic. Thank you for helping the homeless, Good Deed Scout, said Widow McBear. Thank you for giving us a good deed to do, said Brother. As the Bible said, Fred pointed out, learn to do right, seek justice, defend the oppressed. Good point, Fred, they all said. All right, we'll see you next week.